welcome to episode 4?
Why are you saying that with a question mark?
I was trying to remember what episode it was. I'm Ben.
And I'm Frankenstein.
This is the podcast where we break down movies we think could be better and make them better by rewriting the movies ourselves and show you what could have been. Today's movie is...
I'm Dracula. I'm sorry. Dracula.
Untold.
Dracula Untold.
Let's start with a plot synopsis.
As his kingdom is being threatened by the Turks, young Prince Vlad Tepes must become a monster, feared by his own people, in order to obtain the power needed to protect his own family and the families of his kingdom. And his kingdom's like one castle.
Delicious.
Yeah.
It's a good synopsis. What's your history with this film? What do you...
Well, I have deep history with my man Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
I've read his book.
His official autobiography.
I've read his autobiography. I've seen most of the film adaptations, I would assume.
Right.
I'm a vampire fan, to be honest.
So you like vampire lore?
Yes, I'm a fan of their culture.
Cool. So, had you seen this movie before?
No.
Okay.
I was super not looking forward to watching this.
Yeah, I have a very similar history. I'm not as big a fan of vampire stuff as Ty. I just read Dracula for the first time, and I loved it, but I'm not...
No exaggeration. My favorite book, probably.
It's a very good book. If you haven't read it, definitely read it. Also, there's one other thing I want to talk about is that this is the first film I've had to pay money for us to watch.
Yeah.
I had to buy this movie. I couldn't rent it. I couldn't find it. It wasn't on Netflix, Hulu, any of that stuff. I had to pay cold hard cash for this.
Cold hard digital bucks.
So let's talk about the actors. Let's start with Vlad himself.
Vlad Tepes / Dracula / Vlad the Impaler.
Luke Evans. How do you think he did?
You go first.
He reminded me a lot of, is it Aaron Eckhart?
Yeah, Aaron Eckhart.
Eckhart in I, Frankenstein. He was kind of like the stone cold, blase action hero.
I disagree with you there. I think he brought a lot of sensitivity to the role.
Yeah, well, no, like, I think it was a similar character, but I thought he played it with a little bit more emotion, brought a little more heart to it.
Yeah, he was a lot better than Aaron Eckhart.
Which is too bad because Aaron Eckhart is a good actor.
If I were to quantify their acting talents like separately, I would say that Aaron Eckhart is definitely a better actor.
No,
but if we were to compare these two roles, Luke Evans, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, Luke Evans.
He was much better as Dracula.
Sarah Gadon as Marina. Adrian! Sarah Gadon, how do you think she did?
She was a fine, pretty-looking lady.
She was really beautiful. Like, every shot of her, I was like, oh my god, she's so pretty.
But she's pretty interchangeable. Like, you could have a different pretty lady play the same character, and I don't think you would really lose anything.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though, is that most female characters aren't even bothered to be written. They're just there kind of as a foil for the main character.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what she was, and she did a good job at that.
You would say it's the movie's fault, not her fault?
Yeah, no, I think it's the movie's fault.
Well, I don't know. Let's see what else she's in.
Yeah.
Shall we?
All right.
Click on that IMDb, that hyperlink.
She was in Enemy. Have you seen Enemy?
Of course I have.
Oh my god. She was good in that movie?
No, I was lying. I haven't. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh my god. You haven't seen Enemy?
No.
Enemy is fantastic.
I guess I better go out and see
Enemy. All right. So, our villain of the movie.
Dracula's enemy.
Dracula's enemy. Mehmed.
Mehmed?
I think it's Mehmed. Dominic Cooper.
He was cartoonish? I think he was definitely cartoonish. Isn't this guy, like, a good actor?
I mean, he was in Captain America, the first Avenger.
I don't remember who he was.
And Need for Speed.
Hang on, I've heard his name before. Isn't he like supposed to be good?
I suppose.
Oh, he was Howard Stark in the Marvel movies. He's pretty good as that character. Is he white or is he Middle Eastern?
I mean, I think he's as white as a Middle Eastern person can get.
I don't know. I guess we should double check that, but
I mean,
touching on his depiction of a Middle Eastern character.
He was born in Greenwich, London, England, so he's English.
Well, he could still be Middle Eastern, of Middle Eastern descent.
Getting down to the hold card. Fucking Christ! Why is that hard to say? Cold hard facts. We're getting down to the cold hard facts here today on whatever the fuck this show is called. I think he's just white.
Yeah, no real details on what his ethnicity is, but
yeah. So are we saying that this movie was a little bit racist?
It was a little insensitive to people of Turkish descent, I would say.
Yeah, the Turks were
just mentioning his character, his depiction of this character is bringing up a larger issue of the depiction of like Turkish people in this movie.
They couldn't
we'll get to that later.
They couldn't have just gotten a real Turkish person.
But he himself was cartoonishly enjoyable.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
He didn't really stand out to me, but he didn't bother me. So
he wasn't particularly worse than anyone else in this movie.
Yeah.
His accent was pretty bad though. It was like it was Team America level of I am Middle Eastern, you know.
All right. Now to who I think probably is the best part of this movie. The master vampire, Charles Dance.
I didn't know his character's name was Master Vampire.
I didn't think he ever was given a name.
Well, he is the best part of the movie.
He's really good, right?
He is creepy as hell.
Yeah. You know the part where he stretches out his mouth and like licks his wound?
Yeah.
that was not CGI. He just did that with his mouth.
That's just how intense he is as an actor.
Many people will also recognize him as the head Lannister in Game of Thrones.
And he has a pretty storied movie career. He's been in lots of stuff.
Really?
He's not like a small name.
He's good. He's going to be in a movie called Victor Frankenstein.
Could it be related to I, Frankenstein?
I don't know. Let's find out.
No, I've already seen the trailer to this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It has Daniel Radcliffe.
Let's talk about this later.
As Igor?
Igor. He was in he played Ian Fleming. I thought he was like, oh, he's in GoldenEye. Oh.
No,
he's in the TV movie as Ian Fleming.
What was it? Ian Fleming at the beginning of the movie going like, hello, this is my book. I'm going to read it to you.
I want to bring up Art Parkinson as Ingreus in Ingeris.
Why?
Because the whole time I was thinking like when he was in school, he was like, you guys should check me out in this movie, Dracula Untold. It's really cool. I'm a movie guy now. And then they all go see the movie, and he's like a crying, whimpering child the whole time. Do you think he gets teased?
At school?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he gets teased. Like, he's more successful than probably most of his peers.
Yeah.
He can probably pay some guy to beat the crap out of other people who make fun of him. Let's get into the movie.
You know, I kind of want to start out with how much I didn't want to watch this.
When we were having trouble finding the movie, Ty was like, hey, can we just watch another Dracula movie and do a review about that?
Because there are lots of Dracula movies, and there are lots of bad Dracula movies.
No.
I don't know, I just didn't want to watch this so much. I was really trying to avoid it.
It was really funny, and I was not particularly excited for it, but I was more down than Ty was.
But this movie had a few surprises in store.
Oh, yeah. Well, first off, we open up with a opening narration over some interestingly styled, moving...
A 300-esque opening montage where it sort of, like, describes our awesome warrior leader.
Yeah.
Who's vaguely based on a historical figure, but is sort of, like, blown up to comic book-esque proportions.
Yeah, listen. There are only two things that Vlad the Impaler cares about.
Peace and his family.
And we totally get that from the opening montage where he has child soldiers and he impales people.
He was a child soldier, apparently?
Yeah.
But he's like Raiden?
Yeah, he's Raiden!
He's Raiden!
Oh, man. Yeah, so through this opening scene, we're led to believe he was a child soldier, and he was really good at impaling people.
He's the best.
He's the best.
He slayed that wolf at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. That's 300.
I wrote down Vlad the Impalesive. I was trying to...
The Impalesive?
I was trying to combine impressive and impaling.
Valid effort, but you fall a little short. It doesn't quite work. But I give you credit for it. I did some brief skimming of the Dracula Wikipedia page, and the whole reason he was a child soldier is because, like, in the movie, it's because the Romanians traded, well, in this movie, Transylvanians, traded 1,000 boys or something to the Turks.
Right.
Which, as far as I know, didn't actually happen. Mm-hmm. Dracula was actually, like, captive with the Turks as a child.
No.
But that's for more complex political reasons. I don't know. The whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking, I'm comparing it to what I know of what historically happened. And that sort of, like, brings up a whole other debate of, like, what you do with an adaptation of historical events.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with movies, like, not depicting historical events completely accurately. But I think that what actually happened is way more compelling than what they came up with.
Yeah, well, not only that, but that's such a huge thing. If it is indeed made up, that's a huge thing to make up. That's one of the main cruxes of the story.
Yeah,
pretty much.
It's Dracula's whole motivation for doing what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's odd if indeed it is made up for them to make that up.
And as far as I understand, like these events still kind of matter to the people involved, like the current Romanian people and the current Turkish people. Mm-hmm. Like they still remember who these people were.
Right.
And what happened, and they still tell stories about it.
Yeah, and by the way, if any of you listeners out there know for sure whether or not this is historical fact or historical fiction, write into us, and we want to know.
All you doctorates out there listening.
Or all you actual vampires, please write into us.
For all of you who were around for the event.
All right, and then we cut to CG mountains again?
Yeah, there's a lot of CG in this movie.
Well, all right. I think it's more tastefully done than in I, Frankenstein, but why are you CGIing mountains? You could have filmed real mountains!
I'm gonna defend it. I'm gonna make a lot of comparisons to 300 with this.
But you can physically tell that this movie was not completely filmed on a green screen, which I think was a good choice.
Yeah.
So it just makes it all the more baffling as why did they CGI the mountain ranges.
I think they did it acceptably enough.
Yeah.
Because sort of what I realized as we were watching this is that this is essentially a Hobbit movie with a Dracula reskin.
Right.
And as I started to realize that, I began to become a little more okay with it.
Right.
You know, because as we're looking at these actors and the way they're dressed, it's definitely not historical.
Right.
They're not meant to represent, like, the historical ethnic people of this land. It's just they're using these historical settings to tell, like, a fantasy story. I'm kind of okay with it from that perspective.
Okay, I can buy that. But just... It was just giving me flashbacks to I, Frankenstein, so I was kind of like, oh...
Can we just say something... Just to start with, this movie's so much better than I, Frankenstein.
Oh my god, it was so much better. A big part of that is due to the director. The director, I think, did a pretty good job.
Of like, the shots and directing the actors and that stuff.
Well, like, I think altogether it was a well-put-together movie.
It was better on every way.
Yeah, exactly.
The effects, the story, the acting.
Yeah.
Not having any gargoyles. I mean, it seems like an easy mistake to avoid not having gargoyles in your movie.
I think I think we can both agree the only time that there should be gargoyles in a movie is if it's a live-action adaptation of the Gargoyles Disney TV series.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. Okay. That's the only excusable excuse for you to use gargoyles in your movie. Movie people.
So yeah, so they wander through these CG mountains. And they're in this river and they find a Turk helmet, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, there's a Turk helmet. They must be nearby. And then they end up wandering into this cave.
And this cave that no one comes back from.
Yeah. And they wander in and they're attacked.
The random encounter with a single level 67 Charles Dance, Lord Vampire Master.
It's interesting. It's not my favorite introduction ever, especially with the growling animal noises. I don't know why the vampires in this movie.
They use very obviously like lion and tiger sound samples, which I don't know. To me, a vampire should sound a little more deathly.
Some of the sounds I could clearly recognize from Call of Duty Nazi Zombies.
That's kind of interesting. That makes the movie a little lazy.
Yeah.
It's like these are sounds that we've obviously heard before. Mm-hmm. And if we're trying to like sort of change our interpretation of the vampire, we can like mix a new noise, that sounds maybe pretty creepy.
Yeah. But instead, we got this.
We got lion growls.
Yeah, we got lion growls. And we get a brief glimpse of what vampire vision looks like.
Yeah.
What do you think of this?
Pretty cool.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah, it's a combination of like it's a visual interpretation of what echolocation combined with being able to sense blood might look like. And like you have to make creative measures to try to interpret something visually, and I think that's a interesting enough way to do it. We're not talking about like a great movie here. This movie's very like comic booky. It's very video gamey. Mm-hmm. So for what they're doing, I think it's acceptable.
I wasn't a huge fan of it, just because it's kind of disorienting when you're going from looking at flesh and blood things, and then everything is very clearly like digital and looks like a video game. It looks like Tron.
Yeah, it does look a little bit like Tron.
So it's kind of off-putting at first, but you get used to it, I think.
He's essentially going into Assassin's vision.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I can see that. You get a brief glimpse of the vampire, and I think that was pretty cool. Like, his face was really creepy.
He has big crazy teeth. He's all dressed in black. He looks like a walking corpse. This is a pretty cool depiction of a vampire. And
they showed you just enough where you could barely see it, but not too much where it was like, oh, I saw too much.
And another thing that's pretty kind of creative is Dracula has to use his sword to like reflect light. Mm-hmm. Like what little light there is in the cave to keep the vampire away, and like that's a little creative.
Yeah, no.
This movie's already like sort of surprising me when I'm comparing it to what we watched last time. You mentioned that the vampire was repelled by his silver ring. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting detail that they included, and little did I know it would be like a super major plot point.
There's always been this debate with people about whether or not silver does anything to vampires, and evidently, according to this movie, it does.
I say it does.
Yeah, well, I mean, most people think it does, so I guess that's true. Then we cut to, God, where did we cut to? What was the name?
I don't know, there's this... Okay, so they cut to this castle.
Yeah, this nondescript castle that no one would ever know.
We're watching a Dracula movie. I don't know what castle this could possibly be, and...
Thank God there was a title to help us out. It was Castle Dracula.
Apparently it was Castle Dracula. I didn't know Dracula had a castle. I mean, if I were to list the 5 things that I know about Dracula...
He wants peace.
Number top 2, he wants peace.
And he wants to protect his family.
Number 3. He has a castle.
We're at the Castle Dracula, and we get the lowdown on basically what life is like there, and we find out what he cares about most is peace and his family.
I wrote down Dadula.
Really? Because I wrote down Vlad the Impale Her.
So good. You won that one. So essentially we get here after learning that in the prologue that Dracula is this horrible warlord who like has impaled men on stakes by the thousands.
Yeah.
He's like a great dad and husband.
Yeah. Like his kids love him and his wife is all like, oh, I love you.
And it's not like this is stuff that happened after the movie, after he became a monster. This all happened, all the impalings happened before this.
Yeah.
He's a monster. He's a literal monster.
There's something that I noticed, and a similar comparison with both this and I, Frankenstein, and so far this is the only connection I can draw between these two movies, Ty, is that they both open with a narration about the past lives of our main character, and they're both horrible people who murdered.
Yeah.
Like... atrociously, and then we're supposed to be on their side and care about what they want to do.
This movie has the incredibly difficult task of making one of history's greatest monsters sympathetic.
Yeah, and you know what? I think they were actually pretty successful.
Me too. I thought they did a pretty good job of making him a sympathetic dad.
Yeah,
Dadula.
and I was enjoying following him. He was interesting to watch.
But a different interpretation that you might see later on is that of sort of like, he's our hero, but we don't like him. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people in Romania love Dracula.
Right.
He's like their George Washington. He's their national hero. It's because he protected Europe from the Turkish Empire.
Right.
Which was, like a huge empire that was planning on conquering what they could of Europe.
Did he, did they like the book too?
I don't know. I mean, it brings them a lot of tourism, so I think they do like it.
Here's something interesting. Do you like the accents that they're doing in this movie?
They're all horrible, but it kind of adds to the hammy enjoyability of the movie.
None of them are Transylvanian whatsoever.
No.
They're all English, I guess.
They're all over the place. It's like, okay, whatever. The director's like, whatever accent you feel like doing, man. Just American, English. You want to do like vaguely Eastern European? It all flies in this world.
I've noticeably that the bad guys are the ones who sound the most.
There's the worst because it's the most racist caricature-y.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait. I also made another note. Beefula.
Oh yeah, we see him take off his shirt and he's got all these.
Oh man, he's ripped. That doesn't come from just being a warrior. Like, you have to like do extra, like, you have to set aside time to do like curl-ups and push-ups to build up those vanity muscles.
Yeah, but also he had many major lacerations, like scars and stuff on his back.
Yeah.
In case,
that's important later.
That'll come back later.
There's a reason they showed off his hot bod. There's another thing I want to bring up for a minute.
Yeah.
It's when wifula is like dadula and kidsula. It's time to go to bed because tomorrow's the resurrection of our Lord. And then she goes out of the room for a second, then she comes back. It's called Easter. In case, like, the movie had to tell us that this is Castle Dracula.
Right.
I mean, where else was it going to be? Like, Castle Superman?
Yeah.
And they have to tell us what Easter is. They mentioned the origin of vampires.
Right.
Which is Master Vampire. That masterfully named character. Got in the shits with the devil or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing this up because in my sort of Dracula headcanon and sort of like what's been implied, at least in my opinion, in the book and in materials written outside of the book, as in like, books that feature Dracula, that Dracula became a vampire sort of through his own evil. Like, he was such like a powerful force of evil and hatred and implied devil magic that he just sort of made himself a vampire.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Based off of what I vaguely know about the Dracula story and not about just like Vlad the Impaler, that's what I would figure. But in this, we're supposed to sympathize with him, so I think it made a little bit more sense to do that, because if he was just pure evil, then why would we even follow him?
Well, I'll show you later.
Ooh.
With my awesome script.
What's it called?
I'm Dracula.
Mine's called My Dracula. Then we get the evil Turks. They show up in Castle Dracula, and they're like, hey, you need to give us all of your children, like 1,000 children.
You know what, Ben? I don't know if this is Castle Dracula because it didn't tell us.
Yeah, no, you know what? We did cut to another scene, so this could be a completely different castle, Ty.
Yeah.
So the Turks wander into some nondescript castle. We're not sure where. Or
Castle X.
Yeah, Castle X, where the Powder Puff Girls are. And they're like, you need to give us 1 billion child soldiers.
You need to give us 100 million thousand child soldiers.
We need every single children that has ever been or ever will be born to come with us back to
here's something I want to bring up.
Turkish land.
Apparently Transylvania is just like one castle and a monastery?
Yeah, no, that's all there is.
That's the whole population.
You know, and Castle Dracula kind of reminded me a little bit of Minas Tirith.
Yeah,
You know
from
what
Lord of the
I'm-
Rings.
Yeah, because it was a whole like city basically enclosed inside of this big elegant castle.
Yeah.
I was like, it was just like the way it was laid out. I was like, oh, Minas Tirith.
Yeah, I got that vibe.
Dracula is clearly not happy about this because it breaks the two rules that he cares about most:
Peace.
peace and his family.
His family.
Because
This is
he goes.
Look, what the Turks want is encroaching on both of his terms, his values.
Yeah,
It's breaking peace because it's war.
yeah,
And it's affecting his family.
Yeah.
Because he wants Dracula's son specifically.
yeah. Because he goes to meet with his old friend, I guess.
Yeah.
From when
Which
he-
I find kind of interesting because, like, historically, when Vlad was held captive by the Turks, they did educate him.
Yeah,
They taught him to speak their language, their literature. They taught him about Islam, all that kind of stuff because he is royalty.
Yeah.
You know, so they're treating him with a certain amount of respect, and it makes sense that he would have made a friend.
his friend Howard Stark.
Yeah, Howard Stark.
even goes as far as to say it's like you basically became one of us. So
Yeah, which I think's interesting for a character backstory, and also interesting for a villain to be a childhood friend,
yeah.
which isn't elaborated very interestingly.
Yeah. So then the guy's like, I specifically want your son.
Yeah.
I want all of your children and your son.
He says if I could have 1,000 of your son in particular, I would, but that's not the case here.
It's like turning into like a creepy pedophile who just wants his son.
Not for sexual reasons, Ben. It's for war reasons.
So they end up meeting with a convoy of the Turkish soldiers.
The evil Turks.
The evil you can tell because they ride up in a black carriage with black horses, and they're like, "Give us your son!"
Yeah.
And then
They're so evil.
and for whatever reason, Count Dracula's wifula was there. And
Bride of Dracula.
She was there to basically be like, "Why did you do this, you son of a bitch?" And,
Yeah.
And one of the Turks says in their own language, like it's subtitled, like he's like, Dracula can't please his woman. It's like,
Dude, low blow.
that was funny. But so she's not happy with this at all. She was like, you promised me that you would not let them do stuff to our son.
What I found funny in this scene,
What?
like as he was giving his evil speech, he was just kind of walking around touching everybody's heads to
Oh.
show his power.
Oh well, that was in the scene earlier.
Oh,
in
it was?
back at Castle.
I don't remember.
God,
But-
where the hell were they?
He essentially walks up to this kid and he gives him a noogie.
Well, back at Minas Tirith, they like that guy's like walking around like just touching people for no reason.
It's to assert his power.
His power of what? That he can touch you?
Yeah, exactly. He can touch Dracula's subjects without being killed because he's from the more powerful empire.
Dude,
It's the visual language of cinema, Ben. It's just something you don't get.
listen, if he really wanted to get his point across, he should have like pulled his dick out and started like helicoptering it like in people's faces.
Here I'm in your court, Dracula. What are you going to do?
I peed in some of the Kool-Aid.
Well, what would they call that in ancient times? Since
What-
helicopters weren't invented yet.
Oh, what they call it when you rotate your dick around? They
A
were
windmill.
Oh, yeah, you're windmilling your dick. I think that's probably the most accurate.
We did it. This is why people listen to us.
Yeah, I think we're running into the other revisionist territory.
Historical
It's
revisionists?
historical revisionist. By the way, if you haven't listened to it yet, you should check out the other revisionist podcast.
What do they do? We'll plug you guys if you plug us.
Yeah, we don't want any unfriendly terms. Let's both help us help you.
Look, we technically had the idea first. We just didn't publish the episode until you guys did.
Until like 3 years later.
That's not true.
They try and take his son, and his son is all like, "No, do it. I'll go. I'll let you finish. I'm gonna go now." And Vlad is so impressed and conflicted that he decides to kill all of the Turks brutally, and then go like, "Run away!"
Oh yeah. It was like a standoff where Like in the middle of the road, there were like 5 or 6 Turks, and Dracula was gonna send his son off.
Yeah.
But then he was like, just like a cool action hero dad, he was like, "Run, son." For that one moment, he was played by Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Run.
And then he turned around and he took them all out.
Yeah.
With like, I think his bare hands.
Yeah, I think. Well, he disarmed them and then stabbed them using their swords.
Yeah.
But he did it at first without any help.
It was
weaponry.
a pretty cool scene.
Yeah. No, it was very well done. Much better action in this movie than in Frankenstein.
The action scenes in this movie are really exciting.
Yeah, they're very well done.
Yeah, they're really fun compared to Frankenstein, where it feels like I'm watching someone play a bad video game.
So his family goes back to the castle.
Castle... We should stop this joke.
Castle Dracula.
Castle Grayskull.
Okay, they go back to Castle Grayskull. So they go back to Castle... his family goes back, and he's like, I'm going to seek the thing that I need to win. And so...
Yeah, he needs the power to protect the 2 things he cares about, his family and power. I mean, his family and peace.
Yeah, peace. He doesn't impale people anymore.
He doesn't care about anything else.
Yeah, none of those things. Anyway, so he goes back to the cave where the master vampire is, and we get what is possibly the scariest moment, nay, the scariest moment in film history. Is there's a spider.
Yeah, there's this gigantic, horrifying spider.
It was so horrifying.
We both screamed.
Yeah. Like here's an impression. Let me like I'll be over here, and this is how loud it was too. I probably still peaked the mic, but
It's one of the scariest moments.
Also, if you've seen the movie Enemy, there's also a scary spider in that movie.
Is there?
Yeah. There's lots of scary spiders in the movie Enemy. Speaking of enemies, so we're in the cave, and he confronts the master vampire.
And Master Vampire's like, dude, I really need to commission some more free trials for vampirism, or I can't leave this cave.
Yeah, so 2 things happen in this scene. One, Master Vampire talks like Bane for a second.
Does he?
He's like,
I don't
the
remember.
darkness is your friend.
Yeah, he did kind of do that.
Yeah. So he shows up, and then he's like, so you want my powers, but you don't want to stay a vampire? Okay, I'll give you an Amazon 30-day free trial of being a vampire.
I didn't know you could do that. I want to do that. I want a free trial of being a
Right?
vampire.
Would it, like, if it was like just a 3-day trial kind of thing, that I think everyone would do that, right?
So if he doesn't drink any blood in 3 days, he's fine.
Yeah.
But until then, he has all of the cool vampire powers, and he has the bloodlust.
I love that he gets the like all the great amazing powers of being a vampire, and he can just murder as many people as he wants, just as long as he doesn't drink their blood. He won't become a vampire.
Yeah, and he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He only impales for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Peace and family.
So he gets anything else you want to bring up in this scene?
He's got a weird stretchy mouth.
Yeah, he does have a stretchy mouth. He does venom tongue stuff to Luke Evans' his face.
Yeah, and it was a good scene. It was creepy and all that stuff, and then he drinks the blood, and then he dies. It's like the master vampire is all walking away. It's like, now you die, and I was like, if that had been me, I would have been. Why didn't you mention that earlier? Oh.
Also, he says, "The game is afoot," or something like.
No, isn't that at the end of the movie?
He says it in the middle.
He says it in the middle,
He
too?
says it first in the middle.
Really?
He says it at the end. So that way, at the end, you're like, "Oh my god, he said the thing."
Well, I mean, like, he has no involvement in the rest of the movie. Like
No, he's just waiting.
From this point on, Master Vampire just sits in his cave, and every now and then we'll cut to like the back of his head when he hears something important that's happening in the movie.
He's essentially dangling a carrot in front of Luke Evans' face, and he's waiting for him to bite.
We get another montage, and we see the spider again.
Ugh.
Oh god, I was just picturing it in my
Look,
head.
When you saw it the first time,
Yeah.
scariest thing you've ever seen. You're not expecting to show it the second time. So they shock you with that.
Yeah.
And you think that it might lose some of its value afterwards? It doesn't.
No. greatest scare in movie history.
Greatest spider in history.
That spider deserves an Academy Award.
In the whole biological history of spiders, that
spider oeuvre, you
that
might
one's
say?
number one.
That is like that spider deserves all of the awards.
Yeah.
Every single award that a spider can win. So he has this whole montage of like what he sees when he's dying, and then he wakes up in this river, and
he's like trying to get up.
Yeah, he's trying
But
to-
he's so strong, he breaks the rock that he's under in half
And
he
falls
kinda,
over.
like, falls over. It's so funny.
and he's like, that's useful.
Yeah, he looks at his hand, at the cuts on his hand heel. He's like, "Oh, that's useful." that's his first thought.
I just love that he's so strong. He can't even stand up.
That doesn't even happen to Superman. Oh wait, there's another spider. This one isn't as scary as the last one, but it's still there.
Oh right. Well, you see, like, it's kind of gross because you hear the spiders. He's
Yeah.
got super hearing, and he hears the spiders fighting with each other. And so like,
Yeah, he's testing out his vampire vision.
yeah,
and all that stuff.
Yeah, he has vampire vision now, and he can see into space. I guess. Did you see that?
No, what he did, he just started having an acid flashback, and he looked up, and he's like, "Oh, whoa, that's cool."
There's so many stars in the sky. There's a double rainbow. Yeah, no, it's like he looks up in the sky, and like it looks like a normal sky with like clouds and stuff, and then it fades through that, and he can see all of space.
I have never seen that in like a vampire book or movie, and
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool interpretation of what their powers could be.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even see that in a Superman movie where he just looks up and he can see all of the cosmos
Yeah.
from where he's standing.
In fact, I think that would be more fitting for Superman than a vampire.
It's a cool idea for a scene.
Yeah. So then Dracula is all like, man, I need to get back home to my peeps.
I need to get back to that castle I live at.
So he's like running all the way back, and then he realizes he can turn into bats.
Yeah, he turns into a bunch of bats, like in Symphony of the Night, where you hold down L1.
And what's even funnier was when this happened, the second he turned into bats, I heard Ty audibly exclaim, "Oh, that's cool."
Did I say
Yeah,
that?
you're like,
Because he does that in the book.
does he really?
Well, he turns into rats, like a horde of rats.
No.
Where like he turns into a horde of rats, but like that horde of rats is still Dracula.
Oh.
So it would make sense he could turn into a horde of bats.
Also a horde of cats.
Who knows? And the night is his domain.
A horde of mats.
No.
Like just placemats.
No. You can't do that.
So back at Castle
Castle Blancula.
Castle Blancula, it's under attack.
From those dirty Turks.
How dare they? Listen, there are only two things Turkish people are good at: making furniture and being evil. In this movie.
And Turkish delights.
So Dracula is like, hey guys, I know I fucked up. I was kind of selfish, but I got this. So then he wanders outside by himself.
Yeah, he's like, everybody turn around.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm gonna go negotiate peace with all these people, and he wanders out by himself and does the exact opposite of peace. And it cuts to like his hand, and he does that thing that happens in all action movies where he like cracks his knuckles by just like crushing his hands together, and then he fights them all.
He runs into an army of like 100,000 people, and he just fights them all barehanded.
Yeah, exactly. I would say it was 100 billion thousand people.
I would say it's 1 trillion quadrillion thousand people.
Listen, it was the population of the Earth times 5.
What do you think of this scene, Ben?
It was well done.
It was cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of action.
That's what I would do if I had vampire powers. I would just fight a whole bunch of dudes.
It was very Kung Fury-esque, actually, to me. There was one thing that particularly reminded me of that, is that when he stabs this guy with a sword, then you go into that guy's vision, where you see him, like, spinning around on the sword, and you can see, like, Dracula and the reflection killing all these
That
people.
was weird. I don't think I like that.
And then he pulls the sword out of the guy, and like as the guy's like in his vision, I guess he's dying, and he looks up at the moon. You can see all these bodies flying in the air.
I like the implication of that, but I don't like that shot.
Yeah, the
It's silly.
execution, the execution wasn't as good as the idea. But again, this director was trying things, and I applaud him for his effort.
I think there was a lot more like legitimate creative energy going to this than I Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like this guy clearly cared about making this into at least a watchable, enjoyable movie. So then we cut to like an overhead shot of Dracula in the middle of a sea of dead bodies.
What's he gonna say to his people when he gets back? Like, it's taken care of.
They all simultaneously had a heart attack and died. What the fuck does this say? Oh. I thought this said send Lou. What I actually wrote was the Turks go back and he's like he killed 1,000 of our men. And the leader was like, send 100,000.
Send 100 billion million thousand kajillion.
Remember how we sent the entire Earth's population times 5? Quadruple that.
Send the entire Earth's population times 7
million.
When the Turks are like, oh, he killed all the Turks. He does this, the main Turk does this really exaggerated shoulder walk. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, they're walking alongside him, and he's like strutting with each shoulder, like very in a very exaggerated fashion, going one in front of the other. You should see what Ty are trying to explain to you, because we're both doing it at each other.
It's like a video game walk cycle for
Yeah.
like a character that's supposed to be a jerk.
So he's hanging out with his people. He's like, all right, you know what we gotta do? We gotta go to our other castle that we have, not Castle Dracula.
It's not a castle, it's a monastery.
Oh, so they gotta go to their monastery.
Yeah. They're going to take the entire population of Transylvania, which isn't even a country, it's Romania.
Yeah, exactly. To this monastery.
And I know it's Transylvania because during a banquet towards the beginning of the movie, this Ewan McGregor looking guy is like, good partying all you Transylvanians, or something like that. I'm like, that's just a region.
So they're out in the woods, right? Making their way
Yeah, they're migrating to this thing.
to the monastery. And we get interesting insight to what Dracula is going through. Like, he's seeing all these people like eating, and like all the sounds is like driving him crazy. Like, it's very fleshy and gross. Like, you can tell he really wants to.
He wants some of that blood.
Yeah, he wants to tuck into one of his.
And then his wife is all like, hey, Dracula, you want some of this? And he's all like, oh, yeah, I want some of that, but not in a way you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they start making out, and like they're about to like, get it on, but then he can see through her skin to her veins, and he's just like, he gets so close to feasting on her, and he's
some of that sexy blood.
and then he backs off of her, and he's like, oh, I need a minute, and like his wife's like, what's wrong? So he goes outside and wallows in his own chaotic, insecure delusions.
Wait, I thought it was daytime.
No,
it's nighttime.
no, it's
It's
still
the
night.
night. This night before. Yeah, he does do that.
Yeah, so he's walling around in his own chaotic, insecure delusions, and
Oh,
this
sick reference.
there's this scary Jack Sparrowy looking guy.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be a gypsy.
Yeah.
Which is another level of racism on top of this.
Exactly. And so he shows up and is like, I will follow you, my lord.
My name is Renfield.
But yeah, I guess this guy is supposed to be kind of like Renfield.
he's a Renfield, essentially.
Yeah. So he cuts his hand and then pours it into a goblet, and he's like, here, I will be your first subject.
You want it. It's your favorite.
And like,
blood.
he's like, no, there are only 2 things I want. This blood is not one of them. And so he tells him, go away, and like Renfield's like, yes, my master.
Don't ever see me again. And he doesn't listen.
Then
Well, what happens, Ben? What are you having trouble singing?
during this whole quest through the woods,
Yeah.
His wife finds out that he's become this monster. to protect people.
What a great wife. She is completely supportive of her husband's decision.
Yeah, well, like at first she's really upset and disturbed.
Yeah.
Because she looks at him and the scars from his back are gone, and this is where it came back.
Yeah, that's a cool little touch.
Yeah, so the scars on his back are gone, and she's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Nothing. Oh, gold." And it's like, she's like, "What's happening?" And like she also saw the silver
Was burning
burning his chest. So he basically comes clean, tells her that he's become this monster for 3 days in order to save the empire, basically.
He's like, "It's just a trial. I'll cancel when the trial's up."
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry, but I'll cancel before they take money off my credit card. And then she becomes pretty supportive of him.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I honestly there are only 2 reactions you can have to this. One is, "Oh God, dear God," and run away.
They are a real power couple.
Yeah, the other way is to accept it and just kind of like hope that he doesn't drink your blood. So they're ambushed by the Turks. And
Dracula's taking his midnight stroll, so he's not nearby.
they're all like, "Oh, okay, we're being attacked." And so then Dracula like is like going around ripping ass.
He turns into a bunch of bats, and he goes there as fast as possible, as fast as a swarm of bats can fly.
Yeah. I mean,
and he bats the fuck out of these guys.
By the way, can I just say I meant tearing shit up, not ripping ass, because it's.
he's ripping ass in a figurative way.
He was going around farting in everyone's faces.
Okay, there are 3 ways you can interpret ripping ass: farting, sexual exploits, or
And
violence.
peace. Oh.
Well, his form of violence is making
Is
peace.
peace.
It's peace.
It's peace.
It's peaceful violence.
So he goes around, and then his family, his wife and his son,
And their bodyguard, Ewan McGregor.
yeah, and their bodyguard are in trouble, and like the bodyguard's like, "Get behind me," but then he immediately gets like stabbed.
And he dies.
Because he sucks. And then he's like, "Well, no one's here to save you now." That's what Turkish people sound like to me. and
It's Ray Winstone back in the day.
okay, all I care about is gold and killing your family.
All I care about silver. Look, the reason this Dracula is a better character than Ray Winstone in Crystal Skull is because Ray Winstone only cares about one thing. Dracula cares about 2 things.
He's a much more multi-layered character.
He's exactly one more layer.
Yeah. So he's about to kill his family, and then Dracula shows up, and he's like, "Ah!" And he kills him. Or no, actually, he throws that Turk off a cliff. Like he like falls.
Which
off.
he does multiple times in the movie.
Yeah, but this guy, I believe he survives because then
Yeah, he climbs back up.
Yeah, later on you see him climb up the cliff. So he saves his family, and they're off to the monastery. Oh, also the scene when they're attacked, he gets blood all over these doves, and the doves make their way back to
By themselves in the crate.
Yeah, they fly in the crate back to the Turks, and
I'm surprised he didn't get like a little splash of blood in his mouth with all the slaughtering he's doing.
the evil Turkish guy like sees like the blood all over these doves. In the scene, the main bad guy's right hand man is all like, "Sir, would all the men are very afraid. There's like some weird monster attacking," and like the lead bad guy is all like, "Well, they can't be afraid of what they can't see."
Is that what he does in this scene?
I think that's what he
Are
says.
we going to talk about the army?
Yeah. So then later we cut to the army, and
He's training them to march blindfolded, and his whole speech is like, "You cannot fear what you cannot see." And that's so stupid because the things I'm most afraid of are what I can't see.
yeah, just to imagine 100,000 people all marching together blindfolded.
Because he knows what Dracula is capable of at this point.
Yeah. He's heard the stories. He's seen the blood on the doves.
This is, I think, the dumbest thing we've seen in a movie so far.
Yeah, but the rest of the movie,
The rest of the movie around it is okay, I think, but that specifically is, I think, the dumbest thing that happens in a movie we've seen so far.
even dumber than Superman's cough.
Yes.
Even dumber than zooming into
Zod's eye? Yes,
Zod's
it's
eye?
even dumber than that.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa, this is harsh criticism, scathing indictment, you might say.
Of that particular part, yes.
Yeah, okay. They're at the monastery, getting prepared for the Turks to attack, and his son looks over and there's like this engraving on these two doors, and like his son is all like Daddy Dracula, what's in there? And he's like, don't go in there, son. It's Dracula's secret closet.
This is the most confusing part of the movie.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what could he possibly have in there?
Yeah, you assume it's some sort of weapon or
Is
something?
it sloth?
Sloth?
I'm assuming it's some sort of beast.
What's sloth?
Like from the Goonies. I said that as Ben was taking a drink.
That would have made this movie 100% better.
Oh wait, what if he has a Frankenstein?
Oh, no!
No, because it's a big iron door that you'd expect to hold back like a Rancor.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's something crazy in there, right?
Yeah.
Dracula is wandering around with his men, right? And it's daytime, and like he's about to step in the sunlight. He's like, oh no, I shouldn't do that. And so like he's just like slowly backing away, and a monk looks over and sees him.
Oh, I love this part.
And immediately knows what's up. Like he doesn't even second guess it. He doesn't second guess it at all. He's just like, oh, that's a vampire. Like Dracula looks at him,
and he's like in the minute he looks at him, he's like, oh no, he knows what I know, but I don't want him to know that I know.
Yeah, and he smiles and like waves really like
awkwardly. Like I'm not a vampire. It's just hot out.
And then walks away. And the monk follows him. And the monk's like, I know what you are.
I like the way they pay this off because he just publicly accuses him and goes on like, I'm gonna fucking slay you right here because I'm a monk and that's what I do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're a beast of the devil. I'm gonna stop you right now.
He approaches him with a silver broadsword.
Yeah, exactly. And then instead of straight up stabbing him, he cuts open the tent and sunlight spills onto Dracula, and like you see his face like burning off.
Yeah.
And everyone in the town sees it because evidently there's only so many people in this
There's
town.
only 20 people in Romania.
Yeah, there's only 20 people in Romania and 100,000 billion people of Turkish people.
Okay, only 20 people in the world are Romanian. The rest of them are Turkish.
Yeah, exactly. There's only they're the only people in the world.
The only people in the universe.
So they all like immediately like, oh my god, he's a monster, and they set the tent on fire to try and kill him. and like his wife is trying to explain this away, and then Dracula comes out. It was like, look at what I did for you. I did this for you.
It's kind of his bad though. Yeah. If I was Dracula, I would have sat the whole country down because there aren't that many of them.
Right.
Look, we're gonna have a little heart to heart. I'm a vampire.
Yeah.
But it's for your own good.
Yeah. I'm doing
that way we avoid all confusions.
Listen, it's only a 3-day trial.
It's 3 days. 3 days. And Daddy's back to normal.
Exactly. He has a moment where he's upset at his people.
Understandably, they try to slay him.
Yeah, well, they both have legitimate reasons for being upset at each other. He probably should have explained it.
Yeah.
And they should have probably handled it better.
Instead of like immediately betraying their beloved prince.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
it's pretty well established that they all love him.
Yeah, like they all really like him as a person. So far he hasn't done anything but to betray him so far.
Yeah.
So he's like, I have a good idea. Let's blindfold our own men. Just swing swords in front of you.
Fight fire with fire.
Then he goes and prays at the church, and his son comes to comfort him. And you get a nice little scene with him and his son, where like he's like, you're really like a pure child. That's why I love you, son, is because you care about other people more than you care about yourself. And that's a good quality to have.
You know, actually, yeah, that's a pretty good character moment.
Because like his son brings him a sandwich. Like he just found out his dad is a vampire monster. He's like, here's a sandwich.
Hey,
Dad.
Papa made you a sandwich.
Then he goes up on top of this monastery, and he creates a congregation of the bats. He just starts collecting all of these bats, like thousands.
The Turk army is amassing. outside the monastery.
Yeah,
and he starts amassing his own bat army.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I think you might say it's every bat in the universe.
Yeah, I would say every bat on planet Earth is here.
Absolutely. So then he like swarms them around, and he's orchestrating them
With his hands.
Yeah, like very much like a conductor.
Yeah.
And then like he sends them sweeping down, knocking down soldiers.
And the animation of the bat swarm is sort of representing what he's doing with his fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a nice little flair.
Yeah, and then he like sends them all the way up into the sky, and then slams them down with his fist. Like he punches down into like the hard floor, and all the bats like descend.
How have not all those bats perished in that first move?
Well, I think they were more interpreting his instruction than actually doing what he was saying, because he slammed his fist down in anger, but then I'm pretty sure all the bats like at the last second like turned off to the side and like pushed them away. Because what would they do? Like just slam themselves directly into the ground? So then he's like, now I'm gonna go take them on myself. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna win. So
and then he's in his Antarctic science base, and he's like, I did it!
I won!
What did you do, Dracula?
I already did it 30 minutes ago!
I saved the world.
So he dives off of the monastery and goes and attacks the army, and he's beating them all, and he goes up to who he thinks is the leader, but it isn't. It's a different guy.
Fake out.
Yeah, the guy's wearing the armor that the guy should be wearing, but it's a different guy.
And the blind army's obviously not working.
Yeah, it's obviously like this dude was not panning out. And it turns out the bad guys had snuck in and are up at the top of the tower with his wife and his son.
I like what happens here because they enter wearing like Transylvanian armor.
Yeah.
And then the wife and the son's bodyguard turns around and he sees their faces and the Turks draw their swords and he's like, oh, is this really happening? Like in his face, and then the Turks are like, yeah, dude, this is happening.
Oh my god. Yeah, they kill the bodyguards, and then they're out on this big.
Yeah, the high tower.
Yeah,
the high point of the monastery.
It kind of reminds me of like when they're at the top of Isengard in the Lord of the Rings movies. So. Their first move is to punch his wife straight in the stomach.
Oh yeah, that was low blow, Turks.
Yeah, they punch her right in the stomach, and Dracula hears it. He's like, oh shit, and flies back up. And
he's like, my Bulma. For those of you who saw Dragon Ball Battle of Gods.
So he gets up there, defeats these evil Turks, and then he turns around, but like the sun's coming out, and his wife like falls off. And he's like, oh shit! And he dives off the edge, flying after her as fast
half made of bats.
Yeah, half made of bats.
Which is the exact same ending of Dark Shadows.
And he's like they're both falling. You see this slow-mo, and I think this is actually well done.
Yeah, because the scene concludes with like it's kind of a long shot, and she assumedly hits the ground below the horizon line of the shot.
Yeah.
So it's you know what happened, but it doesn't directly show it, which is
and
a nice little touch.
There's beautiful music playing.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually pretty emotional. I could feel emotions when I was watching this, unlike anything in I, Frankenstein.
Any emotion other than humor.
Yeah, I felt like a Frankenstein when I was watching that. I can't feel anything! You know what happens, but then you cut...
No, what happens, Ben?
We're at Castle Dracula. we cut to Dracula and his wife seems to be actually fairly okay.
I think the idea is that he caught like the upper half of her body and the lower half hit the ground, so like from like her torso, like her midriff down, it's like completely liquefied.
Oh really? See, the interpretation I got was that she hit the ground, but then he brought her back to life because he's a vampire and he can do that.
No, he can't. He has to make her a vampire to bring her back to life.
No, there was a what's his face? The master vampire was like he was listing all the things that you can do as a vampire. It's like, oh, it's gonna be so cool. You're gonna love it. All right, so first
2-day free shipping.
Yeah, 2-day free shipping. You can see into space, and you can. He said at one point you can bring dead people back to life. Anyway, that was my interpretation. I think yours is probably right, but the
okay, that makes kind of sense too because, like, she's there and she's like, her whole motivation for allowing him to bite her. You know, like the 3 days were up and he still had more Turks to fight.
Yeah.
I thought it was more the lines of like, oh, I'm gonna die anyways, so I'm just gonna make it like a heroic death, so that way you can like do what you're gonna do.
I mean that
because if she was gonna live, I think Dracula would he wouldn't bite her, because then he would have something to live for.
I suppose this is true. So she's like, suck my blood, take it, and he's like, oh, I don't want it. And then eventually he does, though, because he has to do it for the good of his people. So
he loves that delicious blood.
Oh, dude,
blood just moved up to number 2 on his list.
so it's peace.
No, now it is family and blood.
What? I'm pretty sure it's peace and blood because clearly he's destroying one of those things by doing this.
But he still has a son.
Yeah, he still has a son, but I don't think he loves it as much as blood or peace. Anyway, so...
Son, I love you. Not as much as blood or peace.
So she's like, this is for the good of our empire, take my blood. And so he does it, and...
He is now a full vampire.
Yeah, he's the monster that he was pretending to be.
He is 100% beef pyre.
Yeah. So, and he drinks the blood... And now he can control clouds? I didn't know this was a vampire power.
Yeah, dawn is approaching, and the Turks are at their camp like, well, that was a good day. And then they're like, oh wait, the sun isn't rising. It's just an angry cloud of thunderstorms.
But wait, can I just say something? They didn't really. They weren't that successful in their mission. The Turks were like, yeah, we did it. That was a great job, everybody. But all they succeeded in doing was accidentally pushing his wife off a cliff and then like killing like a good portion of the people, but not all of them. I don't think they were successful at all.
I think they were successful enough.
All right, fair enough.
For their leader to be proud of himself. But yeah, Dracula's movie, The Clouds?
Yeah, so he can control the clouds. Oh, and he does a sad yell with blood all over his mouth. Like, you know the dramatic yell that people do when they're really distraught by something? He's like, ah, I haven't won!
Oh, wait, is this the part where he gets his stuff?
Yes. Well, at first he goes up...
From the thing?
Well, first he goes up to his people.
Yeah. His
peoples. And like, he goes up to one of them. He's like, do you want vengeance?
Got a cool deal for you, bro. It's a free trial.
And like the guy like looks so sad. Like he looks up at him with like puppy dog's eyes and like nods his head yes.
He says, yeah. Dracula turns like 20 people into vampires.
Yeah, and
he amasses his own vampire army, which is awesome. Which is something I never knew I wanted.
So yeah, and then we find out what was in his secret closet.
He's badass dragon armor.
Yeah. He like earlier he said like, this is something I hope to never pull out again, and it's just armor. Is that
sick ass looking armor?
It's very cool armor, to be sure. Like I'm not saying the armor's bad, but you expect him to have like a nuclear weapon of some kind. Like
yeah, the way they built that up, it's like he had a nuke.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I have something that's a for sure fail safe. Pulls out a Metal Gear. Liquid.
Yeah, he has his armor. He's running up with his vampire army. And his cloud army. Yeah,
the army of clouds and his real army of vampires.
And the Turks, they're like,
shouldn't the sun have come up by now?
You could see, you could pinpoint the very moment they know that shit's gone down. Like, oh no, that's Dracula.
Yeah, exactly. So they have this really cool fight. And one of my favorite parts of this whole thing, because it's pretty much standard fare for for what we've seen for the rest of the movie. But Dracula pulls out like a knife and stabs one of the guys to a post, and like the guy's like stuck to the post because he stabbed him so hard. And then another one of his vampire army like looks at him and is like, I'm gonna eat you.
Yeah, the whole scene's chaos.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of vampire chaos because there's like a bunch of freaking crazy vampires fighting Turks.
All right, so then Dracula makes his way into the leader's tent.
When he confronts Mehmed.
Yeah. Oh, you remember the name. So he goes into the tent, and is immediately struck by the entire floor is covered in silver
Smart
coins.
move on Mehmed.
Dude, this guy, and like, he's like, I have your son, and the floor is covered in silver. What are you gonna do?
It's analogous to the ending of Superman Returns when Lex Luthor has Superman's son and they're on an island of kryptonite.
Yeah, no, dude, by the way, was I the only one that thought that was cool? I liked...
Superman Returns?
Yeah.
That movie sucks, man.
Whoa, Ty. I mostly enjoyed that movie when I saw it. The problem was it was too long.
We'll see when we do it on the show, which we probably will.
After we do Cars.
After we do Cars.
So he goes in and the floor's covered in silver and like the guy's like, what you gonna do, bro? And then like he has all these bags on the ceiling with silver in it. And like he's like cutting them open and splashing him with silver.
Which is really cool. And Dracula, he walks on in silver. He's wearing boots, so it's okay. But he's as strong as a normal guy now.
Yeah.
So it's an even fight, and they start having this sword battle, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and like the guy Mehmed.
Yeah, Mehmed.
He purposefully keeps like digging his sword into the ground to keep throwing like piles of silver at him. It's very visually striking. It's well done. It's starting to look bad for Dracula.
This scene has enough tension because at this point he has Dracula on the ground.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, you lost, dude," and he's like rubbing it in his face.
Yeah, it's like, and then I can take this wooden stake and stab it through your heart and you'll die just like anybody else.
Which is true. It's like, at first I'm like, how would he know that that's what you do to kill a vampire?
But it just kills everybody.
Well, yeah, like that makes sense. It kills everybody. Like a silver bullet is a werewolf's weakness, but it's also my weakness.
Yeah,
like if I got shot by a silver bullet, I would die.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about most monsters is that their weakness, their main weakness is usually something that would just kill anybody.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
he's about to stab Dracula with a stake.
Yeah.
And his armor's sort of like moving, like sort of disintegrating around the stake.
Yeah, well,
What'd you think of that?
Well, he's like his son is like, by the way, right there watching him.
Yeah.
And like
That adds some tension to the scene. This scene has tension.
yeah, well, it was a smart move to have someone that he cares about there to witness this.
One of the two things he cares about the most.
Yeah, exactly. And this guy is getting in the way of him being with his family and peace. So then he throws down the stake, but Dracula grabs it. As he's holding it back, it is parting his armor.
What do you think of that?
I thought it was interesting. Like I didn't think it was I didn't think it was bad.
It makes sense to me because, like, sort of in my mind, like whatever this guy wears is gonna have a vampiric aspect to it too. You know, just because the magic is so permeating and powerful that's coming from him.
Okay. In fact, actually, an interpretation you can have of this is that he's using what's left of any vampiric strength that he has to hold this thing back, and it's like tearing away his own
Yeah,
armor.
that makes sense too.
To push it away. And that's something that I didn't think about while I was watching. It was just interesting. It was just visually striking.
Yeah.
So anyway, Dracula turns the tide of the battle and fucking vampires out on this guy. He visibly eats this guy in front of his son. And he's like, I'm a monster! No,
he's like, do you remember what my last name is? And then he impales him and like stands up on the stake.
All right. So then he goes back outside, and his people are bloodthirsty.
They're crazy.
Yeah, like they've lost it, and like they're like we want to eat your son, and he's like no, and
yeah,
like
they're saying like they wanted him to completely embrace his vampire side, and they're like, he's human, we're vampires now, and that doesn't really mix.
Right. So yeah, they're like, let's eat him, and like he's like, no,
let's not.
And so he impales one of them, like he puts him up on a spear, and they like melt, they burn apart and melt into a charred corpse.
Oh yeah, when he impaled that vampire, like his flesh was falling off, and then he disintegrated. That was pretty cool.
I have to say, his son has had a hard 3 days.
Yeah,
like
he's been through a lot.
his son is gonna need some serious counseling
My
after
dad's
this.
a vampire. My mom's dead. My whole nation's a vampire.
I saw my dad eat a guy, and I saw a guy visibly melt in front of me on a stake. So then the monk shows up again.
Yeah, the cool monk from the earlier in the movie.
Yeah, and he's got a cross, so that's keeping them back. Because the rest of these people are Satanist heathens. It doesn't bother Dracula. Because
But as everyone knows, Dracula is a good Christian.
there are 4 things we know about Dracula.
The historical Dracula, he was a good Christian.
Was he really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's the whole reason he was doing the thing. He just loved Jesus so much he wanted to kill people.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, but he still has alignment with God essentially.
Yeah.
So the cross doesn't bother him. So he gives his son to the monk to make his way safely back to their kingdom, and then he parts the clouds.
He uses his Storm X-Men power.
Yeah, he uses his Storm-esque X-Men powers to basically burn all of his people that he's turned into vampires and himself.
But you know what? I kind of wanted, because like we kind of give the impression that Master Vampire is the only vampire.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
And then he makes Dracula. I kind of wanted all those other vampires to like go out into the world.
Right.
And then that's why vampires are around.
Right.
For like when a sequel runs around, if they ever do that.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted that for like world building reasons.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, but it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
For his character.
It makes sense for him to do that.
Yeah. It made sense, so it doesn't bother me. And he burns himself.
Yeah, he kills himself.
Yeah, he kills himself essentially, and then his son becomes the king.
He goes on
prince.
to become king of Romania.
Yeah, and then he reenacts Hamlet.
Yeah.
Or Richard III.
He's up there on the throne, looking a bit like Joffrey, but hopefully not as bad.
No, this kid is pure of heart, so he's like
pure of heart.
Yeah, he's one of like Joffrey's brothers.
But the monk's standing right next to him. He's like, I helped. Remember that? He kind of looks at the camera. He's like, I helped.
I did it too. And so his son is giving like this closing monologue, or we think is the closing monologue. But then we cut to Scary Depp bringing Dracula back to life.
Yeah, he Renfields him by pouring blood into his mouth, which is like in an old Hammer movie. That's pretty cool. That resurrects him.
Yeah, so he resurrects Dracula, and then the next thing we see is Dracula in modern day.
I really like this.
All right. Here's the thing. I don't mind them Captain Americaing this. Like I was okay with that. Like the fact that they're in the present day, because it's the only tie-in I can see with I, Frankenstein. But my problem with this is there are only 2 things he cared about, Ty. 2 things. We've talked about this the whole podcast. 2 things he cares about. Peace and his family. So did he just abandon his son for
But he runs in. Maybe he's secretly protecting the royal line behind the scenes. You don't know. The sequel hasn't run around yet.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, did he not tell his son that he was still alive or whatever?
I wouldn't. I think his son, like from my perspective, I would have been like, my son's probably happier thinking that I died a heroic death rather than persisting on as this creature.
Okay, fair enough. So we're in modern day, and he's dressed all cool, very dapper.
Yeah.
He's at the height of English fashion, I would say.
He sees this hot blonde.
Oh yeah, dude. She kind of reminds me of someone maybe that we may have seen earlier in the movie.
It's the same actress who played his wife.
Yeah, interesting.
And then she says, "My name's Mina."
Oh!
And then I shit a brick. Because this is my version of like comic book cameos with like gothic literature.
Yeah, so she reveals that her name's Mina. We can only assume her last name is Harker.
Or Murray.
Oh, Murray?
Since we assume she hasn't married Jonathan yet.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay, fair enough. So they go off and I guess they maybe
fraternize.
Yeah.
We assume that this is the point in the book Dracula, except for in modern day, where Dracula moves to England and meets Mina.
Well, also where Dracula's a good guy of some kind. Like, because I can't imagine it's gonna play out like the book. Because
wait, let me run this by you. I think he was expecting her.
Interesting.
It's not. I don't think he just ran into her. He's like, oh, I feel that you're the reincarnation of her. I think he ran into her and he's like, it's about time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like he was expecting this to happen.
All right, so is your interpretation of this, is this a reincarnation of his wife?
Yeah.
But as Mina?
Yeah. No, because that's in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Coppola movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's sort of the same backstory, except for it's a little more historical, where you have Prince Vlad, and then you have his wife.
Right.
And in the movie and in history, she killed herself.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he's so obsessed with Mina as a vampire, it's because she's the reincarnation of his wife.
Right. Okay.
That's sort of what Bram Stoker's Dracula added to the story.
That's cool.
That's been in other vampire movies before that. It comes from the Universal's The Mummy.
Oh, really?
Of the immortal sort of wizard type character who falls in love with a reincarnated version of his past lover.
Oh, okay.
So they're kind of going that route.
All right, that's cool. I think that adds something interesting.
Oh, I love that stuff in vampire movies.
Yeah. And then we get our final shot of
Charles Dance, Master Vampire.
Yeah, Master Vampire, who's dressed also very dapperly.
And he doesn't look like death.
Yeah, he doesn't look like death. He actually looks like a normal person.
Whatever. Yeah.
And like he stands up, adjusts his tie, and is like, "Let the games begin."
Whatever that means.
I mean, it's the setup for the sequel.
What do you think he could possibly mean?
I mean, like,
because the game's over. The game was, will you become a vampire or not?
Well, there's that, but now they're essentially, we know about 2 vampires in the world now. So I don't know. Maybe they have a vampire war, or he's like, I kind of like Mina too.
Dracula 2, Vampire Wars.
All right, but just based off of that's the end, by the way, and just based off of your experience with this movie, what we saw, would you want to see a sequel?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised by this movie, and I don't think it's, like, amazing or, like, the best Dracula movie or anything by any stretch of the imagination, or even plays with the mythology in a particularly clever way. I think this movie was entertaining. Mm-hmm. It was fun.
Yeah.
And it's completely serviceable. It worked.
Yeah, no, this is a very competently directed movie. The visual effects aren't distracting; they're additive and exciting. And I actually felt things during this movie. Like I actually cared about the main character in this movie.
Yeah, it's not a horror movie; it's a fantasy movie with horror themes.
Exactly, and well done, good job to everyone. How many stars would you give this out of 9?
Wait, let me work this out. That's 6, I guess.
You gave it 6 out of 9 stars?
Yeah, well, why 9?
I wanted to throw you off.
Yeah, I guess 6.
Okay, I would give it 7 out of 9.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
You like this movie a lot.
I own it now. I have to.
I would watch it again.
Yeah, me too.
And I do want a sequel.
Yeah.
So yeah, we like this movie.
Good job.
Yeah, good job. Stay tuned for our rewrites or sequels.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Ooh, who knows? You'll find out.
Stick around.
Hello and welcome back to the rewrite segment of The Real Revisionists.
The Real Revisionists.
As opposed to all those fake ones.
Yeah.
You know who we're talking about.
I'm in Ben's chair.
That's why it sounds all weird. Like, now I'm on the right side and he's on the left side of your ears.
I'm king now.
No, we're both king.
I'm the slightly more powerful king at the moment.
Because his chair is more comfortable. Although, technically, my chair has my name on it.
Alright.
Literally, my chair has my name on it.
It actually does. We're not joking. So my story's a midquel.
A midquel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it takes place between the end of the movie
Okay.
and the teaser scene that takes place contemporary.
Oh, okay. Okay. I get what you're saying. So it
All
takes place in between where he was risen again and then to where we left off at the end of the movie. All right, cool.
Also, disclosure, I know I'm a cinema titan.
Uh-huh.
This is my best work. Just throwing it out there, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut that out and like replace it with you saying this is the best thing.
This is my best work.
I'm gonna edit that so it sounds like this is my best work. In fact, actually, I can just take what you've just said because I can edit it around.
Please do it. Dracula Untold 1.5. Dracula 1989 AD.
Whoa! Okay.
Open on a very spooky mountain fortress. It's important that you know it's very spooky.
Okay.
On-screen text says, in red letters, Castle Dracula. Additional designations.
I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
Additional designations fade in one by one. Wallachia, Romania, Eastern Europe, Eurasian supercontinent, planet Earth. The on-screen text fades away, and the camera pushes in. More on-screen text fades in a similar fashion. 1569 AD, December 13th, 11:57 p.m. A lone heroic figure, garbed in a black hooded cloak, approaches the Gothic castle's mighty gates. He rides by horseback through the hailing storm of snow. He dismounts the dark mare and opens the creaky wooden doors. He ascends the crumbling stone stairs as bats flutter past and screech into the night. From the decrepit walls, a skeleton hand seizes the man's shoulder.
Oh, what?
More skeletons emerge from the wall, with evil in their eye holes.
How would you depict that?
That's up to the director to interpret.
Speaking as a director, no.
How would you interpret that?
How would I interpret that?
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, I would like zoom in on their eyes and show like like fire and bats, I guess.
Moving on. With a dramatic thrust, he throws off his cloak to reveal a spiked metal whip. With a few thunderous cracks, he reduces the skeleton to mere bone meal. He reaches the tallest spire of the castle to find the legendary vampire Dracula, brooding in the darkness of his throne room with a wineglass of blood.
Oh.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world, the heroic figure called out. All right, fine. What's the point anyway, replied the vampire. Everyone I know is dead, my country subjugated to my worst enemies, and I'm damned to be a monster for all of eternity. Go ahead and plunge the stake into my heart and end my misery. The vampire hunter is visually caught off guard and replies in a sympathetic voice. Come on, guy, it's not that bad. You could always... The vampire cuts him off. No, please, just do what you came here to do. End my misery. Well, alright guys, sorry. And with that, the vampire hunter plunges his stake into the monster's heart and his unlife is brought to an end.
What? Oh, wait, so, wait. It's that he put a stake in Dracula's heart?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. He had Skelegards, too?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Ages pass and centuries turn as the sleep of the banished king delves ever deeper. On one stormy night, a ragged-looking man, played by Johnny Depp, approaches this... do you know where I'm going with this?
I have a vague idea.
Approaches the spiderweb-encased sepulchre. He pries open the coffin that has been sealed by time and pours blood from his own wrist into the vampire's mouth. Life returns to his body, and he awakens from death. How dare you awaken me from my slumber? Did I ask for a fan club? Why do you weirdos keep insisting that I want to be resurrected? He shouted. He takes the man and drains him of blood right there. Because you know when you wake up after a long sleep and your mouth is all gross and dry because you're dehydrated and need to have a big glass of water? Well, he had the same thing, but with blood.
I hope like someone like there's like a big title that says that. Like so, you know when you're really tired and like you're really thirsty.
The little asterisks.
Yeah.
Now alive again after who knows how long, and still nothing left to live for, Dracula now departs his castle to search for one who will properly destroy his body so that his suffering will end forever. He travels through a dark European forests, transforming between bats and rats and a wolf and a mist. The things that Dracula can turn into. No other things can Dracula turn into.
What about a Skeleman?
He can't do that.
Why not?
I haven't seen him do it. And I haven't read about him do it. I can cite my sources for all of these.
Really?
Yes.
Shit. Do it now.
The book. Except for bats, that's from the movies.
Yeah, because I don't remember.
He doesn't turn into a bat in the book.
Well, it's never said that he turns into a bat, but I'm pretty sure he did. Because there's a lot of times where they reference, like, there's a bat, like, that's flying next to the window and stuff. Like, that has to be Dracula.
Oh, yeah, there's that part in the book where it says, there's a bat wearing a tiny cape, and it has a tiny widow's peak.
It never said that!
Might as well. The dawn of the rising sun forces him back to his human form. He could end his life then and there, but his quest of total destruction would be unresolved, and he still might be resurrected yet. While seeking protection from the rising sun, Dracula finds shelter in an abandoned cabin. He draws the curtains closed and goes to sleep. He is soon violently awoken by a hulking figure strangling him. The initial surprise of his violent awakening soon wears off because, being already dead, the strangling has no effect. Vlad tries to explain this to his assailant in a choked voice as the strangling continues. His assailant notices nothing is happening and stops. "Oh, my, sorry about that. I didn't expect anyone to be here. You startled me. I hate it when that happens. My name is Adam Frankenstein."
Yeah!
The creature said. If you are confused, this Frankenstein is not the one from I, Frankenstein, but the one from I'm Frankenstein, who coincidentally was also named Adam by a clan of gargoyles.
I thought you specifically went on your way not to name him Adam.
But refused to take part in the stupid demon war and just kind of did his own thing. Vlad recounts the events of Dracula Untold and his quest to find one to destroy him to Adam, who turned out to be a really good and emotionally supportive listener. "That's some story, Drac," Adam said. "But there's a little more to life than peace and family. Have you ever seen The Little Mermaid?"
What?
Cut to montage.
All right, he likes The Little Mermaid.
Yeah. Cut to montage of Vlad and Adam watching Disney VHSs, playing Twister, playing Pong on Atari, and Vlad watching Adam's one-man performance of Hamlet. After having so much fun with Adam, Vlad began to realize that maybe there were some things worth living for. "See, Drac, all you had to do was get over the death of your dumb wife," Adam said. Vlad knew that Adam was right, but deep down inside he felt that something was missing, something that was still out there. Vlad demands that they go into the human world to find out what he thinks is still missing. Adam's not keen on the idea, but Vlad bribes him with tickets to his favorite artist, Phil Collins. At the concert, Vlad leaves Adam to watch Phil Collins by himself. Maybe a new girlfriend is what he needs. He goes to scout out the ladies in audience, but none of them strike him as very captivating. As he's about to give up and get Adam to leave, he turns around and is struck with the image of a beautiful lady. As he looks at her, he begins to notice that she is the spitting image of his deceased wife. Mirna, that was her name.
Was that really?
Yeah. "That's impossible," he thought to himself. "She died in my hands." Her eyes met his, and she is stunned, caught in the feeling that she has seen him before. They approach each other. Her name is Minerva, and the two are instantly in love. She goes home with him to Adam's cabin, where he is currently living, and she spends the night. In the morning, he awakes to the smell of scrambled eggs. He sees Adam preparing a beautiful breakfast while whistling a jaunty tune. He turns around to look at Minerva, who was asleep right beside him, to see her dead with her throat crushed and turned blue with strangulation marks. Dracula demands to know what happened, and Epstein replies, "Oh yeah, sorry about that, Drac. You know how I get when people surprise me.
Oh!
By the way, thanks again for the Collins show last night." Vlad attempts to strangle Adam for what he has done. Vlad tells him how she looked exactly like his deceased wife. Adam does not seem to be affected by his murder and explains that it probably was actually her. Vlad stops strangling him and demands that he explains more. Adam explains that he is a reanimated corpse, and that in death he remembers being a soul in the afterlife before
Page turn.
he was resurrected. He explains that a soul has a possibility of being reincarnated, and that he himself was going to be resurrected as a dog, but was pulled back into his former deceased brain when Victor Frankenstein brought him back from the dead. Vlad thought to himself that if this was true, then Minerva was really Marina back from the dead. If she could be brought back once, she could be brought back again. In his search for answers, Vlad once more returns to Broken Tooth Mountain, that place from the movie. That's what it was called.
That's what it was called?
Yeah.
How'd you find that out?
I went to the Dracula Untold wiki.
What?
I'm kidding. I don't think that's a thing.
Oh, I'm gonna find it. And if there isn't one, I'm gonna start one.
Let's start it.
Let's do it.
The Revisionists wiki?
We're gonna have to start one at some point, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, the real Revisionists wiki.
The real Revisionists. Look out for the toys. In the toy store, coming this December.
Of our disembodied voices.
Yeah, it's just a voice box that plays clips of it.
It's just like a little black censored box that has a string on the back.
The very place where the master vampire first bestowed his curse on the young Vlad Tepes. If anyone were to know the answer to his questions of life and death, it would be him. Now this is where my story begins to turn to crap.
Started.
No one was there. And it seems no one had been there for a very long time. Vlad remembers so long ago that by succumbing to his bloodlust, he has metaphorically failed to revoke his Amazon Prime membership before his free trial expired. So the master vampire was free of his curse to stay in the mountain cave and had left a long time ago. While at the mountain, they run into a startled man bearing a metal thorned whip. He proclaims heroically, "Behold, I am Simon Van Helsing."
Oh!
Grandfather of Chad Van Helsing. Or just father.
Yes.
"And I have come to slay thee, master vampire." Dracula explains that he is not the master vampire. Simon is confused because one of his ancestors had slain a Dracula before, but being that the Van Helsings are enemies of all monsters, and seeing that there are only two right in front of him right now, he proclaims his intention to slay them. This would normally be a one-sided fight for Dracula, let alone with the help of a Frankenstein. But the monster hunter's silver whip, an arsenal of monster-effective weapons... Wait a minute.
What time did you write this at?
An hour ago. Well, the monster hunter had silver weapons and monster-effective weapons that he was using to fight Dracula, and so it was difficult for both of them to fight him.
Okay. Did they also bring in like those laser tanks that they always bring in for Godzilla?
Yeah, he has a pocket one of those that he controls the little remote control.
He has one like Ant-Man.
He proclaims that the master vampire had killed his father, and that he will not stop before he and all of his lot are sent back to hell.
Ooh.
Vlad stops the fighting and explains that he too has a grievance with the master vampire over a lost loved one, and that if found, he will be slain. Simon hates all monsters, but holds sympathy for Vlad's loss because he has a pregnant wife he wishes to protect from the master vampire, and agrees to help Vlad in the honor of love. Using his knowledge of the supernatural world, they search the planet on various adventures that I didn't have enough time to detail in the third act. In pursuit of the master vampire, they find more monsters created by his handiwork, like werewolves, mummies, and zombies. It seems that there is no dark corner of the world untouched by his evil. They eventually find him in an ancient Egyptian tomb. He is happy to see that Dracula has finally left his self-imposed exile. He has been busy at work for the past 600 years sowing evil into the world. A game is afoot. An event of unimaginable proportions and consequence is at hand that is beyond Dracula's and the audience's imagination. He needs Dracula's aid, so he has offered to help him bring back his dead wife. He reveals that he has Simon's pregnant wife, and that he is offering to transmit her soul into the unborn child. Simon challenges Dracula, saying that he knew he could never really trust a monster. Dracula kills Simon in a final battle.
Holy shit.
Master Vampire, whose name it turns out to be Jimothy,
Jimothy.
performs the ritual.
Wait, was that a self-given name, or was that just what his name was?
Remember when Vlad, when Bradley Cooper, or whatever his name was?
Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, at the end of the movie he said Dominic Cooper.
What?
At the end of Dracula Untold, Dominic Cooper was like, Vlad! And then Vlad was like, that's not my name anymore. I'm Dracula. Remember that?
I don't remember that at all.
Well, that happened.
Did it really?
And there was a similar scene in Master Vampire Untold where he said, Jimothy is my name now. Not the previous one. Jimothy's my vampire name. People will hereby now refer to me as Jimothy the Vampire Master.
Are you sure a Gargoyle Queen didn't name him without his consent and was like, your name shall be Jimothy?
Also, I would like to point out that in this war that cannot be imagined in the Dracula Untold 2, there are no gargoyles in it.
Yeah.
And possibly demons, but none of them are played by Bill Nighy.
Why not Bill Nighy?
Because he's too silly. Master Vampire sees the selfishness that Dracula is willing to fall to get what he wants, and sees this making him a powerful ally in the future. Ashamed, Dracula says that he will do whatever it takes to stop his evil from coming to fruition. Before he can enter combat with Jimothy, he disappears with echoing words, saying how foolish he is. Did Vlad really think that the Master would just carry out his wishes? What he did was give him something to live for, something to care about. So that way, he could be manipulated into fighting the Master Vampire's battles in the future. Until then, Dracula waits, ever waiting for the Master's evil, so that he may protect the newly born Mina, and maybe one day have his wife once more.
Whoa.
Finn.
Did he fucking imprint on that baby?
Yes.
Yay!
So what'd you think of my story?
I thought it was pretty good.
Oh yeah, what's your favorite part?
I liked the part where the guy was named Jimothy. No, but seriously, I actually enjoyed it. It would be a worthy sequel.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I like some of the things I did in it, but I don't think it's as good as my I'm Frankenstein.
Yeah. It's not as postmodern.
It's not. It just isn't as well figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a Cinema Titan, and this is the best Dracula Untold mid-quel that could ever be written.
Yeah.
But
probably
still,
the only one that will ever be written.
Sometimes I have standards that I just can't match up to. The standards of a god.
Alright, now it's time for my story.
Alright, Benethy, I'm ready.
Benethy. Alright, so my story is a sequel to Dracula Untold and a sequel to my sequel to I, Frankenstein.
My Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's a sequel to My Frankenstein. So technically it's the third one. So it's like kind of like it's sort of the Avengers.
I like how we both integrated our Frankenstein stories into our Dracula stories.
Yeah. So and also I just watched Abbott and Costello meet like Frankenstein and Dracula last night.
That's a funny movie.
So that may have influenced the way I wrote this.
Maybe is Dracula gonna run to a bunch of pratfalls?
No. All right. So my story is called Dracula Fold. We open where the first film ended.
Well, wait a minute. You want to explain your title?
It will all be clear in a moment.
Okay.
It's Dracula, Fold.
Okay.
So we open where the first film left off. Dracula meets Mina, and the Master Vampire says, "Let the games begin."
That classic line.
That classic line that will be echoed throughout cinema history.
Forever remembered.
Cut to Mina back at home in bed with Adam. They discuss her early encounter, and she proclaims that she thinks it's Dracula. Adam tells her not to worry. We've dealt with vampires before. And Mina's like, no, he's different.
Okay.
Suddenly, a flurry of bats smash through the window, and Dracula appears. Dracula looks and sees Adam, and he's like, "Who are you?" And Adam replies, "I, Frankenstein."
Okay, keep going.
So Dracula replies, "What are you doing here?" "I'm her boyfriend." Dracula looks confused, then attacks Frankenstein. It's an epic battle, throwing stuff and punching the hell out of each other. Dracula punches Adam's arm off.
Oh.
And Adam has one of his silver-tipped bludgeoning sticks held in Dracula's throat.
Nice.
Mina steps in and proclaims this pointless fight over. Dracula leaves to go wallow in his own chaotic insect delusions.
Sick.
Mina helps Adam up and helps him reattach his arm. There's a knock at the door, and it's Van Helsing. He brings news of great danger in London. There's an all-powerful vampire on the loose. And they're like, "Yeah, we met Dracula," says Adam. "No, not Dracula. The one who gave him his powers. The master vampire, named Jimothy." The master vampire is building an army, but he's participating in a high-stakes poker tournament next week to get the money to unleash an all-out war.
What are you talking about?
Cut to Adam, Mina, and Van Helsing practicing poker montage.
Are they up in the mountains?
Are they, like, carrying, like, poker chips up in the mountains?
Yeah, throwing poker decks around.
Yeah, sure. And Dracula quietly watches through the window. Like, he's, like, kind of, like, floating there watching them.
Yeah.
So, then they arrive at a luscious casino and proceed to the high-stakes poker tournament. They take their places around the table only to find Dracula there too. The master vampire shows up and proclaims, "Let the games begin."
I get it. This is the game he was talking about. He was talking about poker the whole time. Oh, Ben. Oh.
Montage of high-stakes poker. Players from the game are taken out one by one by the master vampire, who is also a master poker player. They failed to mention this in the first movie. We go to a brief break from the game. Adam is tailing the master vampire when he sees Celine go with him into his room.
Oh, sick.
He tells this to Mina and Van Helsing. Things are worse than they thought. To turn the page for that.
Dude, dramatic. Elaborate.
Well, Celine is there. That was the one who caused them trouble in my sequel.
Oh, is there even more things that are worse than they thought? Like, are they gonna go into a room and there's a werewolf there?
I'm not gonna say, but Celine's there.
That's pretty bad.
Ooh.
Neither of us remember what that movie's about.
Back to the game. Helsing and Mina are knocked out. It's just between Dracula, Adam, and the Master. Adam and Dracula get into a bidding war, which ends with Adam losing. He's out of the tournament.
Oh no.
Oh, so it looks like all is lost. At the next break, Adam confronts Dracula, and he's like, "Do you realize you've put the whole world in danger?" And Dracula calms him down and informs him that he was on his side the whole time.
No. Keep it.
Dracula and the Master Vampire have an intense, nail-biting poker battle. They get into a bidding war. Adam accidentally sees the Master's hand and proclaims Dracula folds. Makes sense now?
Yeah.
Dracula doesn't listen, and they both go all in. Suspense. The Master Vampire reveals he's got a 4 pair. But Dracula smiles and reveals a royal flush. Dracula wins!
He did it!
He won! Suddenly, the Master and Celine attack, waging an all-out battle in the casino. Van Helsing turns into a werewolf and fights back with Adam and Dracula. Mina keeps throwing silver and accidentally hits Dracula, and she apologizes because she didn't mean to throw silver at his face. Anyway, so the battle reaches an epic climax with Dracula and Adam helpless at the top of the casino, with the Master and Celine about to strike killing blows. When suddenly, the gargoyle statues spring to life and fend them off.
No! Oh, man.
The leader gargoyle turns to Adam and smiles, then flies off into the night.
Okay.
Adam, Dracula, Mina, and Van Helsing all eat at the buffet the next day, settling their differences and figure out what to do with their winnings. Ty, what do you think they would do with their winnings? Because I still can't figure this out.
Make Dracula Untold 2.
This is Dracula Untold 2.
Make Dracula Untold 3.
Well, like, so they won probably like several $1 million. What do you think? Like, I was trying to pose this question to my dad earlier. What do you think Frankenstein, Dracula, Mina Harker, and Van Helsing would all buy together?
As like a joint purchase?
Yeah, as a joint purchase.
Probably a pretty sick castle.
You know what? You're right. What would they call that castle?
Castle Frankula.
And sometimes Mina and Helsing. The end. Finesso.
Ben,
Yeah.
that was incredible. You're freaking blowing my mind. What you came up with probably is going to make more sense than whatever the movie studio is going to come up with if they ever make the sequel.
You like it?
Yeah, it makes so much sense. That's the game he was talking about. I have so many questions.
Yeah.
So does she should stay with Frankenstein?
Yeah, she stays with Frankenstein.
I'm disappointed.
Why are you disappointed?
I want Mina with Dracula.
Why is that, though?
Because I like Dracula better than Frankenstein.
Well, but you talking about the movie version? Like the version that they created?
No, just in general.
Just in general?
Yeah.
I mean, like, in real life...
The romance is always between them because she's his reincarnated wife.
Not in the book.
No, but in the movies,
Yeah,
it's implied in Dracula Untold that she is.
In the movies. All right, well, I'm going based off of my previous story that I wrote, and also I base a lot of like my Dracula lore off of the book.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I didn't have Mina go with Dracula.
Yeah, all right.
But that's a fair point. I can understand that. Let the games begin. I wish I'd given better delivery on the when Frankenstein goes like Dracula fold.
No, I imagine it's happening in like Zack Snyder slow mo.
Dracula fold.
What I like, our stories were really similar.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
That's the weird thing I keep noticing.
Yeah.
Is that in every story we always have at least like one or two things that are.
But this one especially.
Yeah.
We didn't communicate at all about what our stories are going to be about, and we both included our Frankenstein stories.
This is true.
We both of them have sort of Twilight-esque, sort of qualities. Because like you have an Edward Jacob rivalry between Dracula and Frankenstein.
Yeah, in a sense.
And my Dracula fell in love with a baby. Much like Jacob.
I like how in your story, like Dracula and Frankenstein just became roommates.
Yeah. I just really wanted to put my I'm Frankenstein in it.
Yeah, no,
Not my Frankenstein.
it's a good choice.
I'm Frankenstein. Oh, here's another question.
Yeah.
Is the Gargoyle Demon War part of Master Vampire's plan? Or is that a separate demon war?
Well, I think it's just like a separate thing. I was originally gonna have it so that like the demons showed up, but I couldn't like work that out to where I wanted to write it or where it made any sense. Because like basically I kind of figured that war is over because they just killed all of the demons. So what are you gonna do? Just be like, oh, one survived, or like there's another one, which I hate. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
But was Master Vampire included at all in that war, in the initial I Frankenstein demon gargoyle war?
No, he was just there. He was just alive.
He was planning his own evil war.
Yeah. He was planning his own evil war. I didn't get too into the depths of it because I was more interested in watching them all play poker.
I both hate and love that the gargoyle showed up.
Yeah, me too. I was like, I know Ty's gonna hate this, but I think he'll love the way that I did it.
They kind of had to.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was at the point where I was writing this today. And it was like, I was writing this, and it was like, how do I end this? Because the thing is, with all my stories, I want each part to have interesting things in it.
Yeah.
Because there's a 99% chance this is never going to get made, so I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And so whatever I want should be entertaining and interesting to listen to.
Which it was. Which I think we're both doing a pretty good job at.
I agree. I would listen to me.
I'd listen to me.
So far, I think we're the only people that are.
Goodbye Horses is playing in the background. I'd listen to me. Would I listen to me? Oh.
I would listen to me. But yeah.
Lotion in the basket.
So Ty.
Okay.
Next week.
Yeah.
The ball is in my court. I get to choose what movie we watch.
The game is afoot.
The game is afoot, if you will. We will have a high-stakes poker tournament to decide what movie is next. But actually we won't, because I get to decide no matter what.
What is it, Ben?
It's called Agent Cody Banks.
Oh my god.
This is gonna be good.
I've never seen this.
I've seen this from my childhood. This is one of my favorite movies from my kidhood.
Wow. So, get us at Facebook.
Yeah, alright. Like us on Facebook.
Podomatic.
Yeah, follow us. Follow what episodes are on Podomatic as of now.
iTunes.
Yeah, subscribe on iTunes. We're trying to figure out new ways to get our podcast up. We should be getting our podcast up on YouTube if you're not listening to it on YouTube already.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for new social media accounts that will be opening soon.
Exactly, yeah. We want your participation. And as always, send us any email to the Revisionist Podcast at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Whatever you have to say. Tell us about your yummy mummy.
Tell us which cereal you like the best of the spooky
Yeah,
cereals.
in fact, we'll have a vote on our Facebook page about which of the Halloween cereals is the best cereal. Personally, for me, it's Boo Berry.
I agree.
Yeah! Cinema Titans, unite!
Cinnamon Toast. Yeah.
Also, there's another thing that most vampire lore does not acknowledge, which is that vampires are like things like very orderly. So if you like make something like a spear or something, they have to like
They're kind of OCD.
The only thing that I've ever seen actually use that was there's an episode of the X-Files where they run into this town of vampires and they keep throwing stuff on the ground and the vampires like, damn it! then you know.
Well, what happens, Ben? What are you having trouble singing?
That's getting cut so hard.
No, we're keeping that.
Well, maybe I'll put it at the end, but I'm not gonna leave that in the middle.
Okay.